Yo, good evening, USA, International, Canada, Long Island, aka Strong Island, the tri state areas of New Jersey, Connecticut, plus the five spots of Brooklyn, Bronx, Manhattan, Staten Island, and Queens. This is your man and homie, G Money Stacks, aka the Gregonator. Rhymes with now or later. Your host with the most, misunderstood, lonely nomad, unstoppable independent podcaster, creator, YouTuber, and Queens, New York native, who is also a New York Giants and New York Mets fan from the neck of the woods of Laurelton, Queens, New York. You are now rocking with me by tuning in, streaming, listening, and watching the 114th episode of the Sports Edition show. Excellent, fun, vibrant talks podcast. This is the space to talk about anything in football news involving the New York Giants, alongside with a little basketball news of the New York Knicks, Brooklyn Nets, a little bit of and of course the New York Mets, and along with other sports included. And I do apologize for being a little late. I had to restart my laptop because my microphone wasn't working correctly, and I had a little late dinner actually. And and I hope many of you, including the listeners out there that's listening to this podcast right now, are basically at home, keeping yourselves warm from this crazy snowstorm that I had to really take a picture of it actually this morning. Believe it or not, I looked at my phone, it was like 15 degrees. And believe it or not, I got to feel for the people who are protesting, who are nurses, because they're out there trying to get a better pay and everything else in between. And they're really trying to fight for all these things. I feel for them. But at the same time, it's extremely cold, and not too many people can actually survive with hypothermia and alongside with frostbites and stuff. So if you're out there, just layer up with some extra clothing, whether it's pants, sweaters, hoodies, gloves, mittens, winter hats, scarves. You just name it. You just name it though. And I did hear that there has been some changes happening with the Metro North Railroad and alongside with the Long Island Railroad. And along with subway lines that's going to be running locally instead of the express line because of because of the snowstorm. And of course the buses have changed on the back of the wheels, and they had to take off the 60-foot buses so it won't get stuck in the snowstorm. So that's a good thing that the 60-foot snow no the 60-foot buses are not out there. And of course I'm probably sure you probably heard what's happening in New Jersey as far as transit. Um, the trains and the buses are going to be put on hold because of the snowstorm. That's so fucking nasty out there, man. And and of course, if you had to, get last minute groceries like TV dinners, frozen TV dinners, whatever you may need, of course, make sure you get a chance to get them as soon as possible. Um, the schools are closed tomorrow because of the snowstorm. It, they predicted it's going to be like between 7 to 12 inches of snow. So it's still snowing right now where I'm at right now. So I hope everybody everybody at home is actually, keeping themselves warm with some warm tea with lemon alongside with some hot chocolate milk. All right. I just wanted to actually put this out there um as an awareness actually because I had posted something on Instagram and threads um in regards to the snowstorm. So it's just my way of, you know, letting you know what's going on. All right, so we are live and direct from StreamYard alongside with YouTube. If you miss any episodes whatsoever, please feel free to do some catching up. And of course, click on that subscribe button on the sports YouTube channel page of Excellent, Fun, Vibrant Talks podcast. And leave a like and a comment and let me know in the comment section how you feel about the sports topics in each episode. All right. And also, don't forget to leave a 5-star rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you have Apple Podcasts, make sure you download it onto your iPhones, Android phones, iPads, Android tablets, alongside with alongside with you know Apple Mac laptops and Dell laptop models. All right. Now I know everybody's been talking about the whole thing with the Kyle Tucker sweepstakes. I'm not going to talk about it here. I'll recap it in the following episode, and I will discuss the whole Bo Bichette situation in one of the following episodes and stuff. So um and so yeah. And by the way, man, can we stop the hype of Tariq Skubal, man? Like seriously, he's not coming. He's not going to come to the New York teams. That's not going to happen. And plus, his asking price is just too high. And I don't think the Mets are going to actually do that. So I just wanted to actually say that off the back for the record. All right. All right. So let's get into the quick side bleacher bar segment right here. All right, here we go. All right, first things first, we need to talk about the hiring of John Harbaugh. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into the story of what's happening here. All right, listen to this. So, and this is from Sports Illustrated. All right, let's get into this actually. All right, so the hell's going on here? Um Come on. All right, here we go. Yes, according to Sports Illustrated, the New York Giants are set to hire former Baltimore Ravens head coach. Why is this still happening? Yes, yes, the New York Giants are set to hire former Baltimore Ravens head coach John Harbaugh, who will become the team's 24th head coach in its 101-year franchise history. Per a source with knowledge of the situation, Harbaugh and the Giants are said to be working on finalizing a 5-year deal in the range of $100 million. Harbaugh skyrocketed to the top of the available coaches hires following his dismissal by the Ravens on January 6th. After Ravens owner Steve Bisciotti reportedly contemplated the decision for weeks. Bisciotti, Bisciotti's decision was solidified when the Ravens, in their regular season finale against the Steelers, failed to secure the win and the AFC North Division thanks to kicker Tyler Loop missing a game-winning field goal. Oof, that's gotta fucking hurt, man, for the team. All right, before I continue this episode, I want to take the time to give some credit to the people, including Matt Groening, and along with the producers, directors, and everyone else that's in charge of The Simpsons. All right, so this one's for you. Anyway, let's continue with the Harbaugh story. All right. So given a fresh start, Harbaugh represents perhaps the most exciting head coaching hire for the Giants since Tom Coughlin. Harbaugh, unlike the previous head coaches that followed Coughlin, um, Ben McAdoo, Pat Shermer, Joe Judge, and Brian Duball, not only bring way more experience, but also an impressive 193 to 124 overall record. That's 609 winning percentage to the table. Um, including a 13 to 11 postseason record that includes one Super Bowl championship. He is the all-time winningest head coach in Ravens history and led the Ravens to 12 playoff berths in 18 seasons, posting double-digit wins in all but 7 of those seasons. All right. Okay. Where was it? Yes. So, why Harbaugh is the right choice, you ask? The Giants are at a point in their history where, since the departure of Coughlin, they are 55, 109, and 1, with only 2 postseason appearances. Those coming in 2016 when they lost the wild card round under McAdoo. And in 2022, when they won their first postseason game, which is the wild card round versus Minnesota, before losing the divisional round against Philadelphia under Brian Daboll. Let's see. All right, so the Giants have also not finished first in the NFC East since 2011 when they won the Super Bowl after going 9-7 that season. Although Harbaugh's final season in Baltimore ended at 8-9, he's had far more success than failure. Harbaugh posted 11 double-digit winning seasons with the Ravens, all of which led to postseason berths, including the 2012 10-6 campaign that led to the franchise's Super Bowl victory. He's also won the AFC North title 6 times, including 2019 when the Ravens posted an impressive 14-2 mark. And his teams have only been outscored by seasons and 3 times during his head coaching career. The worst of it coming in 2015 when the Ravens suffered a negative 73 point differential in what was a 5-11 campaign. Harbaugh's worst season as head coach to date. The Giants have a solid young core of talent for Harbaugh and his future staff to work with. Still, the team also needs additional reinforcement at various positions, including wide receiver, cornerback, linebacker, offensive line, and safety. Harbaugh and general manager Joe Schoen will work to secure that reinforcement this offseason after the two men sit down for a thorough review of the roster. Hold on, let me get some water real quick. I'll be back. Sorry about that, folks. I had to get my water real quick. Let me see. Let me see if there's anything else I need to cover. Um, okay, so let's see. Let's see. All right, so let's make some noise for John Harbaugh for being hired as the new head coach. All right. Before I go on to some baseball news. All right. Okay. Um okay, so I want to actually get to hold on. Okay, let's talk about all right. So let's talk about some rumors and stuff, man. All right. Um Not really well, let's see. Okay. All right. So um nah, forget the room. Forget that. So let's get into all right, let's get into the Tropicana field situation actually. Let's talk about that though. Okay. Apparently, in case you didn't know, it was one of the previous years. There was a hurricane that hit Tropicana Field where the Tampa Bay Rays play. And let me just get into this right here. So this is from WUSF. So here's what's going on here. So they have until February 3rd to pitch their plans to redevelop the 86-acre historic gas plant district. Developers who are interested in transforming the Tropicana Field site in St. Petersburg are on the clock. On Sunday, the city issued a public notice allowing the developers to pitch their plans for the historic gas plant district over the next 30 days. The deadline to submit bids is February 3rd. According to city new a city According to a city news release, this allows an opportunity for competing or alternative proposals from private developers or other interested parties for the lease, purchase, or development of all or a portion of the historic gas plant district property. Um, Sunday was the original deadline. Sunday was the original deadline. But Mayor Ken Welsh in early November delayed it by a month, even though at least one has said 30 days is not enough time to prepare a proposal. Several prominent developers have said they are interested in taking over the 86-acre site, which may include a new stadium for the Tampa Bay Rays, whose lease at Tropicana Field runs through the end of the 2028 season. Some of the some of those proposals have included green space, entertainment venues, business and retail space, and affordable housing and other amenities. The historic gas plant district was once a black community whose residents were displaced more than 40 years ago to make way for Interstate 175 and Tropicana Field. The Rays were sold in October to a group led by Jacksonville, home builder Patrick um, Zalupski. Shortly after Zalupski laid out his criteria for a new stadium on either side of Tampa Bay, including at least 100 acres of land and being part of a mixed use development. Well, good luck with that one right there. Good luck with that one right there. Let's see. All right, and more on the Tropicana field. Okay, so yeah. So yeah. Developers interested in redeveloping the historic gas plant district home to Tropicana Field are rolling out their rosters of partners for the project. A 30-day window to submit proposals opened January 4th instead of issuing criteria and benchmarks. Mayor Ken Welch instead opted to invite competing pitches in response to an unsolicited proposal made in October by Ellison Horace. Um, the city's third attempt to develop the gas plant in recent years was originally scheduled to start before Thanksgiving. It was it was postponed under under pressure from interested developers and city council members. Proposals are due February the 3rd by 10 a.m. On Monday, Ark Ellison Horace, a team made up of Ark Investment, Ellison Development, and Horace Construction, announced a slate of partners. The group includes construction company Moss Architecture, infrastructure, and engineering firm Jacobs, and engineering, planning, and design services company Kimley Horn. The Pinellas County Housing Authority, the St. Petersburg Housing Authority, and Ivara Health also have signed letters of intent to be part of their $6.8 billion vision for the redevelopment. Art Ellis Horace announced. Um, End quote. These are well known, trusted companies with deep experience delivering complex, transformative projects, said Casey Ellison, CEO of Ellison Development, in a statement. Each brings unique and extraordinary value, and their interest strengthens the original plan and our ability to deliver lasting impact for St. Petersburg residents. The Pinellas County Housing Authority submitted its own unsolicited proposal to build a senior housing tower on a half acre on the Lot 3 parking lot at the Trop. Moss recently acquired Ellison Construction. Ellison told a reporter last week that has no bearing on Ellison Development, and the two are separate companies, similar to what the Tampa Bay Rays did when they were interested in redeveloping the gas plant. Members of the Art Ellison Horace team gave a presentation last week to the Campbell Park Neighborhood Association. It didn't go over smoothly in an audience that included mayoral candidate Maria Scruggs and community members who opposed what they view as a rushed process to find a developer. End quote. I feel like it's being forced down our throats, said former Campbell Park Neighborhood Association President Lisa Thomas. Blake Investment Partners on Saturday announced that it is joining forces with local affordable housing provider Bluesky Communities. Bluesky is behind Skyway Lofts, Bear Creek Commons, and Senior Tower Peterborough. Local investor Thomas Whitney Blake, who in March offered $260 million in cash to purchase the entire gas plant site, said Bluesky will handle all affordable and workforce housing on site and privately off site. He said his group has identified 5 submarkets and would start tying up properties for affordable housing over the next decade. There are places in the city where today we can go and find density and build affordable units, help the community and make money, Blake said. We're going to start doing things that make pragmatic sense as part of a bigger portfolio. Blue Sky partner and CFO Scott McDonald said his group fielded calls from other developers who are interested in the gas plant site, but after evaluating the landscape of players, went with Blake. His team is the right team to lead this from what I've seen and the partners he's bringing to the table, McDonald said. When you look at some of the stalled development in our city in general, they've been led by people who were not real estate developers or didn't have extensive real estate experience. Those are important to me to make sure we were partnering with someone who wasn't going to let that happen again. Let's see. John Catsimitidis. Hold on. Catsimitidis. Catsimatidis. The CEO of Red Apple Real Estate and the New York billionaire behind the residence at 400 Central, St. Petersburg's tallest tower, has said he is also interested in developing the gas plant land. He and Troy Simpson, president of the mixed-use division of Delray Beach-based Coulter Group, asked the city to extend its timeline. In quote, we remain very interested in this process and may either submit a proposal or enter into a strategic partnership. Catsimitidis said in a statement, our top priority is making sure St. Pete becomes an even greater place to live because of this. When asked if Coulter still planned to submit a proposal, regional president Brian Van Slick Brian Van Slyke told the Tampa Bay Times on Monday that his company was still discussing it internally. It's a large undertaking, he said. Obviously, Coulter has the ability and the strength and the various business verticals to accomplish something like that. We're trying to evaluate if it fits our growth plans. Johnny Say, co-founder of Stale Chips, emailed the city to say his firm is working on a proposal with architectural firm DPZ Code Design. According to its LinkedIn business profile, Stale Chips oh man, not to be confused with the snack, folks. Yeah, Stale Chips provides customized workshops, and coaching to government developments. Excuse me, departments, government departments, nonprofits, Fortune 500 companies, and startups. DTZ co-design worked on Rosemary Beach, a planned community in Walton County. As this is a small window, we appreciate any urgency and help, Say wrote, asking for guidance on the structure of their proposal. He did not respond to a call and email seeking comment. Time staff writer Rebecca Leipson contributed to this report. Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay, let's talk about let's see. Um and yeah, talk about this though. And let me see. And as for the athletics, according to Fox Sports, um A's fans get virtual preview of future $2 billion Las Vegas stadium. Want to experience what the new athletics park athletics ballpark will look like and feel like? Now you can. On Tuesday, the club opened a new interactive space that allows fans to see the future of teams' $2 billion ballpark, which is currently under construction in Las Vegas and set to open in 2028. The interactive space is located in the Uncommons mixed use development in the southwest Las Vegas Valley. It includes a model of the park, interactive displays, and concepts of the seating arrangement. The space is also home to the immersive cube, a virtual replica of the A's future stadium that fans can step inside to take a look at the surroundings. The space is composed of 270 degrees of LED screens on the walls, floor, and ceiling, featuring 26.5 million pixels. The 3,500 cubic foot space can fit up to 12 people at a time. End quote. I don't think that it's ever been the case that you could see in a space so large as opposed to looking at it on a small computer screen what the image will look like, A's owner John Fisher said via the Las Vegas Review Journal. Hold on, let me wipe this off here. Let's see. Let me see. What the window looking into Bally's and MGM and New York, what that will all be, excuse me. Seeing what the club spaces are going to be and the suites. We can continue to impose the programming in the cube. So the people will be able to get the views from a lot of different things. The Athletics and their fans have been in flux for a couple of years now. First, the team announced it was moving to Las Vegas following the 2023 season. Then they played their final season in Oakland under protest. Now they are set playing games in Sacramento for the next few seasons until their new stadium is finished. But at least now they can get a preview of their new home. All right. Let's see. Let me see. Let's see. You're probably wondering why are they moving. Hang on a second. Though. Yeah. So I already actually discussed that already. Let's see. Let me see. Where's that topic? Okay, where's that topic? Okay, where's that topic? Okay, what is this? Okay, speaking of which, I don't know if I'm pretty sure many of you probably been hearing about Steve Cohen, who is getting a casino for Metropolitan Park. All right, so let's see. We're gonna get into the approval. Actually, this was posted. Um, okay, this was posted. All right, so let's get into what's going on here. Okay, so here's what's going on here. This is from the constructionreviewonline.com. All right, so the New York State Gaming Commission voted on Monday, December 15th, 2025, to award a gaming license to Metropolitan Park, clearing a major hurdle for an $8.1 billion redevelopment project plan for land surrounding Citi Field in Queens. The proposal, led by Hard Rock International and New York Mets owner Steve Cohen, will transform roughly 50 acres of existing asphalt parking lots into a large-scale sports and entertainment district. The project is expected to reshape the Willis Point area and anchor year-round activity beyond baseball season. Plans for Metropolitan Park include a casino and sports book, a Hard Rock branded hotel, restaurants, retail space, meeting and event facilities, and a 5,650 seat indoor entertainment venue. Developments say the project will be integrated with nearby attractions, including Citi Field, the USTA Billie Jean King National Tennis Center, and ongoing development at Willets Point. Beyond entertainment, the project includes significant public investment. Developers have committed to creating 25 acres of publicly accessible parkland alongside transportation upgrades, pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure, and full ADA accessibility improvements at the Mets Willets Point subway station. State officials estimate the project will generate 23,000 union jobs, both during construction and through permanent operations, while producing billions of dollars in long-term tax revenue. Additional commitments include funding for community programs and support for an all affordable housing development elsewhere in Queens. Construction timelines are expected to be announced following final permitting and site preparation approvals. Lease agreement. The city and New York Mets owner Steve Cohen signed a lease agreement on November 17th, 2025, clearing the way for Cohen and Hard Rock International to develop an $8.1 billion casino and entertainment complex at Citi Field's parking lot. The arrangement, confirmed by both the city and developers, resolves the legal dispute with the United States Tennis Association, which owns the tennis center across the street and had previously sued to halt lease negotiations. With the lawsuit settled and the lease in place, Metropolitan Park has now secured one of the three downstate casino licenses from the state, allowing construction and development planning to move forward. Um, the new agreement between the city and Metropolitan Park, which includes the previously contested superiority 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 clause, appears to have resolved the legal dispute with the USTA. Both the city and Metropolitan Park confirmed that the tennis association was not involved in negotiating the terms. With the lawsuit effectively settled, the project no longer faced obstacles that could have threatened its approval, paving the way for the Gaming Commission to award one of the three downstate casino licenses to Metropolitan Park in December 2025. First proposed in September 2024 during the competition for New York's limited downstate casino licenses. The $8.1 billion metropolitan 8.1 $8.1 billion um, Metropolitan Park project evolved from a closely watched bid into an approved development, gaining early community backing before securing state approval. Um, so a new landscape for a long-standing approval. The Metropolitan Park project, first unveiled on September 25th, 2024, has always been defined by its ambitious scope and promise of comprehensive redevelopment beyond the casino and hotel. The development will include live music venues, retail shops, convention and event space, and a 25-acre public park featuring athletic fields and playgrounds. The project also incorporates major infrastructure upgrades, including significant improvements to the Mets Willis Point subway station, enhancing access and ADA compliance. Supporters, including Queensborough President Donovan Richards Jr., viewed the project as a transformative economic opportunity that will turn a long underutilized parking lot into a vibrant year-round destination. Um, Final approval secured. Metropolitan Park reached its pivotal milestone on December 15th, 2025, excuse me, when the New York State Gaming Commission awarded the casino license following prior approvals from the local community advisory committee and other city and state review bodies. With the license now secured, the project has moved into planning and development stages, with construction timelines and permitting processes underway. The unexpected turn of events, the competition for a downstate casino license had intensified in mid-October 2025. On October 14th, MGM Resorts abruptly withdrew its Yonkers bid, citing a shorter than expected 15-year license term and rising competition. The following day, Resorts World New York City submitted a supplemental $7.5 billion bid, building on its existing operation at Aqueduct Racetrack, and positioning itself as a shovel-ready option with a promised 2026 opening. For those of you who may not know where Aqueduct Racetrack is, it's in Far Rockaway, Queens. In New York. Let's see. Despite the crowded field, Metropolitan Park ultimately secured one of the three licenses, marking a major win for Steve Cohen and Hard Rock International. The sequences of events leading up to the Gaming Commission's decision shaped the Metropolitan Park project's trajectory. MGM Resorts withdrawal removed a major competitor, while Resorts World New York City's expanded bid had intensified the pressure on remaining applicants. Ultimately, Metropolitan Park emerged successful, demonstrating this demonstrating to the state board that it could deliver economic benefits and job efficiently. Excuse me. Key considerations in the licensing decision. Let's see. The enduring debate over the project, however, continues. Critics highlight that the casino sits on what is technically state owned parkland, raising questions about public land use despite prior legislation allowing for its alienation. Opponents also cite potential social risk, including gambling's impact on nearby immigrant and working class communities in Flushing and Corona, Queens, as well as environmental concerns in the flood prone area along Flushing Bay. These discussions reflect the ongoing philosophical divide, whether Metropolitan Park will serve as a true community asset or primarily as a profit driven development with risk to local neighborhoods. What's next for Metropolitan Park, you ask? With the New York State Gaming Commission's approval on December 15, 2025, Metropolitan Park has moved from proposal to reality, shifting the focus from whether the project will appear to how and when it will be built. The decision concludes years of debate and positions the development as one of the most significant land use transformations in Queens in decades. The project will redevelop 50 acres of surface parking lots surrounding Citi Field, home of the New York Mets since 2009, into a large scale sports and entertainment district anchored by a casino. Mets owner Steve Cohen, who acquired a majority stake in the team in 2020, began pursuing the development shortly after taking control of the franchise, framing the project as a long-term investment in the surrounding community. Cohen has repeatedly described the redevelopment as a rare opportunity to reimagine land long dominated by asphalt. Following the approval, developers confirmed the project is expected to generate 23,000 union construction and permanent jobs, alongside major public space and infrastructure improvements. Hard Rock International Chairman Jim Allen said the development is designed to deliver lasting economic impact while creating a year-round destination for entertainment in Queens. With the license secured, the project now advances to final permitting, infrastructure coordination, and construction planning, while debates over scale and land use shape the proposal's early years. Metropolitan Park's legacy will now be defined by execution and by whether it delivers on promises to transform the Mets parking lots into a shaped civic destination for one of New York City's most diverse boroughs. Metropolitan Park to feature 25 acres of new public park space. The Metropolitan Park development will include 25 acres of new public park space, um, along with infrastructure and public transit improvements, a Hard Rock hotel and casino bars, restaurants, a sports book, a food hall, and a space for live music. About 5 acres of the park are designed for community athletic fields and playgrounds. The park design was created by shop architects and field ops who previously collaborated on the recently completed Domino Park in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. Earlier, the project faced legal and regulatory hurdles related to parkland use, but with the November 17th, 2025 lease agreement signed and the casino license secured in December 2025, developers are now proceeding with planning and approvals with the New York City Planning Commission to finalize zoning, demapping, and construction details. Now, from what I heard, from a fellow favorite YouTuber who covers the Mets on Wardy, he had mentioned that the parking lot is going to be perhaps across the street. Perhaps across the street. It might be a parking garage actually. That's across the street. Probably going to be with what 20 parking spaces in the garage, some shit like that. I don't know how that's gonna work. I don't know how that's just gonna work, but we'll see what happens though, man. We'll see what happens. And congratulations to Steve Cohen for getting the Metropolitan Park to go down by the New York Mets City Field in Flushing, Queens. Man. All right. All right, all right. So, okay, for those, all right. So, let's get into the next topic. I should let you know that the name of this episode is New Baseball Stadium in the Future plus New York, which is dedicated to the to the Tropicana Stadium for the Tampa Bay Rays, and of course the Metropolitan Park, created by Steve Cohen of the New York Mets in Flushing, Queens. All right, so let's get into some more top sports topics. Actually, let's see, let's get into some more sports topics here. So let's see. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. All righty then. Yes, yes, Tim Leiper. Let's talk about him. Most recent hire. Let's talk about him. All right, Tim Leiper. Yeah, let's talk about this. All right. So the New York Mets continue to round out their coaching staff, hiring Tim Leiper to be their third base coach, replacing Mike Sarabo. Leiper, whose most recent coaching job came as the San Diego Padres third base coach last season, uh, has a wealth of experience in baseball. The California native's career began as a longtime minor leaguer, playing in 1,166 games across 12 seasons, including two stints with the Mets from 1985 to 1996. He had a solid career as organizational depth, hitting 273, 337, 365 with 40 home runs and 460 RBIs. He only played 6 games for the Binghamton Mets in 1996, but transitioned into a coaching role that season, beginning his post-playing career. He coached in various roles in the minor leagues until 2000, where he became a minor league manager in the Montreal Expos organization, which is claimed by the Washington Nationals. For those of you who may not know, he spent the next 10 seasons managing minor league teams in the Expos, Red Sox, Orioles, Pirates, and Marlins organizations, including winning the 2010 Southern League with the Double-A Jacksonville Suns, a Marlins affiliate. All right. Let's see. The next few years saw him move to a more developmental role in the Marlins and Blue Jays organizations, including being a senior advisor for player development for Toronto. In 2014, he finally made his major league debut as John Gibbons' first base coach. Ironic considering Gibbons had just left the Mets this offseason. He stayed in the role until 2018. He made his return to the big leagues last season as the Padres third base coach. Not only does Leiper have a wealth of experience in both major and minor league baseball, he also has a ton of experience in international baseball as well. A mainstay in Canadian baseball, he has coached different Canadian teams from the 2004 Olympics to 3 different World Baseball Classics and in Pan American tournaments as well. Leiper will look to bring that vast experience to the Mets dugout as the organization has reshaped the coaching staff behind Carlos Mendoza. All right. Okay. Let me see. Let me see what else to. Yes, Austin Warren. He's one of those underrated pitchers, man. He's one of those underrated pitchers. Oh man. Yeah, so prior to today's series finale against the Giants and the Mets called up right-handed reliever Austin Warren to make room on the roster. The Mets designated right-handed reliever Rico Garcia for assignment. Joel Sherman first reported last night that the Mets had intended to DFA Garcia and noted that this move was strictly to add a fresh arm into the pen, adding that it was unlikely the team would start the clock on a top prospect like Nolan Lightning McClain for such relief work. Warren, whom the team picked up on waivers from San Francisco in the offseason, has made 5 appearances for the Mets, pitching 5 and 1/3 innings of 1 run ball while striking out 4 and walking 3. He was optioned to AAA to make room for Shamanai's return back on, which took place on July 13th. Garcia pitched in yesterday's 12-6 win and allowed 2 runs in the ninth inning. With the teams revamping their bullpen at the deadline, he became the easy arm to remove from the equation. Garcia, who had ping-ponged between the Mets and Yankees this season, has allowed 3 earned runs in 12 and 2/3 innings for the Mets across his 8 appearances. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Let me see. Yeah, I did address Eric Chavez and Jeremy Hefner being fired, and now they are in Atlanta, Georgia with the Braves. All right. I did talk about that actually. And the New York Mets got a pitcher from the Tampa Bay Rays. Let's talk about that. Though, man. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, who did they get? Who did they get from Tampa? Oh, wait a minute. Who did they get from? Who did they get? Let me see. Let me see. All righty. Who did they get? Wait, let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Hold on. New York Mets get a pitcher from the Tampa Bay Rays. Let's see who. Let me take a look here. All right, so here we go. All right, with the off season getting going for the Tampa Bay Rays, they have already started to make some moves this winter. Coming into the off season, the Rays were certainly a team to watch with a number of potential directions that they could go in. While the end of the 2025 campaign might not have been ideal, this was a team that had quite a bit of success early on. Unfortunately, the offense struggled a bit in the second half, and the team sold off some veterans at the trade deadline. This resulted in the franchise finishing 8 games under the 500 mark, but they were still able to have a positive run differential overall. Because of the success in the first half of last season, there is reason to believe that Tampa Bay can be a contender in 2026. However, while that might be possible, there are a lot of potential moves that the team might make this winter, which could either help or hurt those chances. According to Anthony DiComo, the New York Mets have recently traded for right-handed pitcher Joey, Joey Gerber, who had who was just designated for assignment uh, by the Rays. In return, Tampa Bay will receive cash considerations. All right, I want to explain what designated for assignment means for you folks at home that's kind of wondering, what does that mean? What does that mean, you ask? Let's see. What does that mean, you ask? Uh, what does that mean? Okay. Okay. So, what does designated for assignment mean in baseball, you ask? Let me see. What does that mean? Let me just All right, so let's break this down. Let's break this down. So okay, so all right, so I want to actually, this is from Sporting News. I want to actually break this down for you folks right there so you can get an idea. You can get an idea on what that what that phrase really means. So this is from Sporting News actually. So here we go. There are numerous transactions that can happen to an MLB player. They can be optioned down to the minors. They can be traded to another team. They can even just simply be cut. One of the more unique to baseball transaction types is to be designated for assignment. If a big leaguer is underperforming significantly, a team might decide that it is time to hit the DFA button, which can have several different outcomes. During the course of the MLB season, fans will often see players DFA'd by their teams. It is a particularly common process for players who are a bit more on the experience side and in the middle of contracts. Much of the other processes are more self explanatory. Trades and releases are obviously simple. Even options are fairly common knowledge. But what exactly does it mean to be designated for assignment, you ask? Yeah, so teams are only allowed to have 40 players on their roster at all times, with 26 of them active in the majors. Sometimes teams make decisions to add someone to that 40-man roster, which means removing someone else. In order to take someone off the 40-man roster, they must be designated for assignment. When that happens, a player is taken off the roster immediately and sits in a holding pattern for 7 days. During that time frame, the team can trade the player away or place him on waivers. Another team can claim the player on waivers, but it would require a immediately placing that player on their own 40-man roster and taking on the remainder of that contract. Because waiver claims operate in a particular order, teams will sometimes trade for a DFA'd player rather than wait until waivers to make sure no one ahead of them in the order is able to claim that player. There's always a chance the player go through waivers unclaimed. If that happens, teams have a few different options for what comes next. The team can release them or can outright them to the minors. However, not all DFA players have to go to the minors. A player can reject the minor league assignment and head to free agency if he's been in the majors for at least 3 years, or if he has been to outright outrighted to the minors previously. Sorry for the loud cars and stuff. Um, being designated for assignment is different than being optioned to the minors, though sometimes the two can overlap. Players early in their careers have um, options, option years, during which they can be sent back to the minors 5 times per season. After MLB promotions, being optioned to the minors does not mean a player has to be designated for assignment unless he runs out of options. If a team if a team claims a player that has been designated for assignment and that player still has minor league options left, the team can choose to use one to send the player to the minors. So as long as he is still on the 40-man roster. Um DFA contract implications. There are often talented players that hit waivers that will go unclaimed for one big reason: the contract. If a player is claimed on waivers or acquired via trade, the team that added him would be taking on the remainder of the contract as well. Often part of the reason a team would make the decision to DFA a player is in the hopes another might claim them and take the contract off the books. However, if the player reaches free agency, he can sign a deal with any other team on a prorated portion of the MLB minimum, which is $720,000. $720,000. Wow. And the team that DFA'd would then pay that player the remaining salary owed to him on his original deal minus the prorated MLB minimum paid by the acquiring team. I hope that makes sense. Hold on. I hope this makes sense though. Um if I can actually yeah, so that's basically what being designated for assignment basically means. So it basically means that a player is removed from from the team's 40-man roster, allowing the team to make room for another player. The team then has 7 days to either trade the player, release them, or send them to the minor leagues after clearing waivers. So there you go, folks. That's what designated for assignment means. All right, so let's go to another topic here. I know I had it right here actually. I know I had it right there. Where was I? Where was I? Where was I? Yes, Joey Gerber. Yes. Yes, Joey Gerber. Yes, that's where I was at. Hold on. Yes. Considerations. Yeah, designated for assignment by the Rays. Okay, so according to Anthony DiComo, the New York Mets have recently traded for the right-handed pitcher Joey Gerber, who was just designated for assignment by the Rays. In return, Tampa Bay will receive cash considerations. The Mets have acquired reliever Joey Gerber from the Rays for cash per source. Gerber, age 28, appeared in 2 games for Tampa Bay last season. He spent most of the year at Trip, AAA, where he produced a 6.23 ERA but did not strike out 54 batters over 43 and one-third innings. Gerber is a former 8th-round pick of the Seattle Mariners and has been chiefly a minor leaguer throughout his career. Overall, in his career in the minors, the relief pitcher has totaled a 3.47 ERA and 153 innings pitched. Despite not having much experience in the majors, the Rays did give him a chance in 2025. While the sample size is tiny, he totaled a 2.08 ERA and 4.1 innings pitched. At 28 years old, Gerber isn't considered to be a prospect anymore, but he does have some potential that New York might be interested in. In the minors, with a decent career ERA, Gerber does feature a strong strikeout rate of 12.2 per 9 innings. That is likely what got the interest of the Mets to get a deal done, and they will be seeking to get the most out of him in their system. New York has done a good job in recent years of helping older pitchers succeed, and the right hander will be a potential project for them this spring. For Tampa Bay, they are already showing to be quite active this winter, and that is likely going to be a trend that continues. All right, let's see. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. What is this? Um, Wait a minute here. Wait a minute here. Wait a minute here. Um, mhm. um, okay. Mets talking to Padres about potential trades for these players. So let's get into this here. The New York Mets find themselves in a dire position um, to improve their roster after what has been a disastrous week. It will take a long time for the Mets fans to get over losing beloved star players Edwin Diaz and Pete Alonso in free agency on consecutive days. And while fan frustration is directed towards David Stearns and the rest of New York's front office, there's still time for the Mets brass to put this roster in a good spot to compete in 2026. um okay, 2026, yeah. So The Mets don't stop at signing Polanco as they still need to add at least one outfielder. Oh boy. One outfielder, solidify their bullpen, and ideally add a frontline starting pitcher. And they don't need to do so solely through the free agency market, as trades are also a plausible option at this point. Um, the San Diego Padres are always among the most active teams when making trades. And according to a December 13th article from Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic, who's also from Fair Territory podcast, San Diego and New York are engaged in talks for 5 Padres players. The Padres players in the talks include right-hander Nick Pivetta, outfielder Ramon Laureano, and relievers Mason Miller, Adrian Morgan, and Jeremiah Estrada. That's not going to be a guarantee, so it's not a guarantee. San Diego, in turn, is asking the Mets about their young major leaguers and all of their top prospects. Both pitchers and position players, Rosenthal wrote, which was excerpted in an ex post from Michael Marino. A subsequent ex post from Marino quoted Rosenthal writing, "The Padres, meanwhile, are attracted to the Mets' young pitchers, three of whom Nolan Lightning McLean, Nolan Lightning McLean, Brandon Sproat, and Jonathan made their debuts last season. Of those, McLean is thought to be untouchable or close to it. A less familiar pitcher on the 40-man roster, Jonathan Pintaro, also holds appeal to teams, according to people familiar with New York's talks." All right, this doesn't really look too promising, so it's not really official. This is just a process of talks. So, and the Padres, meanwhile, are attracted to the Mets' young pitchers. Yeah. Hang on a second. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I already read that one. Yeah. So the article did note that no trade is imminent or close to being done, but the fact that discussions are happening suggests something could come soon. While all 5 of those Padres players are appealing, the most notable are Nick Pivetta and Mason Miller. Pivetta, who went 13-5 with a 2.87 ERA and 190 strikeouts in 181.2 innings pitched in the 2025 regular season, could serve as the Mets frontline starter they are seeking, while Mason Miller is one of the most dominant relievers in the sport. Ramon Laureano could also replace Brandon Nimmo. That's not in left field. That's not gonna happen, man. That's just not gonna happen. That's just not gonna happen. Let's see. Let's see. Giving up Tong or Sproat would be a tough blow for the Mets. The Mets farm system. But given how a deal for any of these players, for any of these Padre players, to be exact, would help the team's chances in 2026. Perhaps David Stearns should pull the trigger on a deal if it presents itself. Let's see. Where should I go? Um, let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see if there's anything else. Oh, Kazuma Okamoto signs with the Toronto Blue Jays. Let's talk about that one right there. Let's talk about that. Um, sorry. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Yeah. Let me see. Okay, so according to ESPN, Japanese third baseman Kazuma Okamoto has signed a four-year deal for $60 million with the Toronto Blue Jays. The team announced on Sunday. The deal includes a $5 million signing bonus, and Okamoto will have a $7 million salary this year and $16 million in each of the following 3 seasons. Okamoto, age 29, has hit a league best 248 home runs, one more than Muneka Munetaka Murakami, who signed with the Chicago White Sox in December since entering Japan's Nippon Professional Baseball in 2015 with the Yomiuri Giants. Never heard of them. Entering 2025, Okamoto had hit 27 or more homers every season since 2018. But he tallied only 15 last season after missing roughly half of the season with an elbow injury from a collision at first base. Shit. That's gotta fucking hurt. Let's see. Yes, Okamoto is more than 3 years older than Murakami and doesn't have the peaks in homer total or high end exit velocities, but he offers a much higher floor as a player. While Okamoto's homer totals dropped to 27 in 2024 and 15 in 2025, his batting average spiked to 280 and 327, along with his strikeout rate dropping to 16%, then 11% in 2025. Okamoto's skills are concentrated more in the frequency with which he where he gets to his power, regularly lifting and pulling the ball in games rather than as a hitter with massive power, though Okamoto's raw power grades are still plus when compared to big league hitters. Okamoto, like Murakami, has limited long-term defensive value and is seen as an eventual primary first baseman. He mostly played third base in Japan, but Okamoto has played a lot of first base, 474 games in his career, so his transition should be easier. The combination of of Okamoto's long track record and wide base of skills made him attractive to a number of teams looking for a less expensive alternative to Pete Alonso on the free agent market. The Blue Jays will owe the Giants a posting fee of $10,875,000 for Okamoto, according to the Associated Press. MLB teams that sign players through posting must pay a fee to the Asian team from which the player transfers 20% for the first $25 million, 17.5 million, 17.5 percent, excuse me, for the next $25 million and an additional 15% on every dollar above $50 million. All deals under the posting agreement between Major League Baseball and Nippon Professional Baseball, which already happened already. Actually. In 11 MPB seasons, Okamoto, a six-time All-Star, has a 277 batting average with 248 homers and 17 RBIs. He also played for Team Japan in the 2023 World Baseball Classic, hitting the go-ahead home run in the gold medal game against the United States. He has 7 RBIs in 18 at bats during the WBC, which stands for the World Baseball Classic. So boom, there you go. Let me see what else I have to talk about. Let me see if I left anything out. A little side note about Michael King. He signed back with the Pittsburgh Pirates for a 3-year deal. For a 3-year deal, actually. So let me just find oh boy, let me find that story. Let me see. All right, before I do that, let me just see. Let me just see something. Um 3 teams dreaming of a Hunter Greene trade but can't meet the Reds' price. Okay, so if the Cincinnati Reds truly intend to trade Hunter Greene this offseason, and at the moment, there's little to suggest these rumors uh, are anything other than mere speculation. There's sure to be no shortage of suitors. Greene is one of the top pitchers in baseball, and he's on an extremely affordable contract through the 2029 season. The Reds have an abundance of starting pitching, but their lineup needs a boost. Most of the scuttlebutt. Oh shit, scuttlebutt. Oh man. Oh man. Yeah, scuttlebutt surrounding these Reds rumors is centered around the notion that Cincinnati could trade Greene in order to bolster the lineup. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, so most of the line. Okay. And while it's a good bet that every other organization is set to give Nick Crawl a phone call once the offseason officially begins. It's doubtful that every inquiring GM has the type of trade assets available to pull off such a blockbuster. These three teams, though interested, are unlikely to be part of the Greene trade rumors this winter. Three teams dreaming of a Hunter Greene trade, but can't meet the Reds' price. Houston Astros, for instance, have become accustomed to postseason play, but this season they fell short of the playoffs for the first time since 2016. The clock is ticking in H-Town with aging stars like Carlos Correa, Jose Altuve, and Christian Walker all on the backside of their career. With Framber Valdez hitting free agency, which he's now um, in free agency with no team to claim him, Houston needs another frontline starter to pair with Hunter Hunter Brown next season. Unfortunately for the Astros, they have one of the weakest farm systems in all of baseball, and their current roster doesn't offer much in the way of tradable assets. If Houston would like to part with Cam Smith, the Reds would surely listen. But the standout rookie is unlikely to be made available this offseason. All right, San Diego Padres. Let's talk about them. Let's talk about them. No team has risked more over the past few years than the San Diego Padres. Um, AJ Preller has sold the team literally in order to create a contender in Southern California. Nevertheless, San Diego also always seems to come up a day late and a dollar short once the postseason begins. The Frayers are set to lose Dylan Cease to free agency this offseason, and though Joe Musgrove is likely to return in 2026, adding Greene to his stable of starters would be a dream come true for Prella. Unfortunately, San Diego unloaded so much of their the top young talent at the 2025 trade deadline that the cupboard is now bare. The Padres don't have the horses to get a deal done. Hmm. These are just rumors or speculations of which teams that's going to happen, but I don't think he's coming to the Mets either. New York Mets starting pitching really let the New York Mets down in 2025, and they undoubtedly love to secure an ace like Greene heading into next season. The Mets were forced to turn to top prospect Nolan Lightning McLean down the stretch. While the likes of Sean Manaea, Griffin Canning, and Tyler McGill all failed to accumulate more than 16 starts last season. Much like the Astros and Padres, however, the Mets don't have much in terms of tradable assets. If Cincinnati intends to trade Greene, they'll be looking for young, controllable players who are major league ready. That's not something that New York has at the moment. Loading record. Yeah, so yeah. So there you go. So there you go, man. Um, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this, but Dylan Cease is already with a team of the Toronto Blue Jays as well. Let's see, just to let you know. Let me see. So, why is there a lockout in baseball 2027? That's a good question right there, man. I've talked about the pros and cons behind the lockout as far as like the salary cap and the salary floor. I'm not so sure about that. But let me see. Let me see. Come on. That's not what I meant. Okay. It's not what I meant here, but okay. Let's get into why. So no matter how much hang on a minute. No matter how much anyone tries to diminish it, the word lockout is going to hang over the 2026 Major League Baseball season like a plump slider. A plump slider. Oh shit. Yeah, a plump slider about to be deposited into the far reaches of your favorite neighborhood ballpark. Tony Clark, executive director of the MLB Players Association, has sounded like a broken record this year each time he's addressed the media. Let's not try to fix what isn't broken. During spring training at the All-Star game, the World Series, and this past week after players meetings in Scottsdale, Arizona, with selected members of the press. An unedited audio file of that conversation was provided to Forbes by the union. And quote, as an organization, you get ready for the next negotiations as soon as the ink is dried on the previous one, Clark said. I can't speak for that. I can't speak for the other side, but our interests are getting into the room and hammering out a fair and equitable deal. That's our commitment. The other stuff is just noise. Is it really just noise? Every YouTuber, including the guys from Metcast and other podcasters and stuff like that, has addressed this and talked about it. You feel what I'm saying? Um, let's see. The current basic agreement is set to expire. It's set to expire on December 1st, 2026. Negotiations typically begin during spring training and will be the last for Commissioner Rob Manfred, aka the Snake, who says he will retire when his current contract expires on January 25th, 2029. The union is anticipating tough sessions and is preparing for at least an off-season lockout, a redux of what happened before the current contract was signed during the spring training of 2022. While that season was delayed, games were not missed. Let's see. There have been no negotiations thus far, either front or back channel, Clark said. The lines of communications are open, and anytime those happen, our players know about it. Earlier this year, Manfred rattled the sword about another lockout. Although lately he's been silent on the issue, refusing to address it during the World Series. Clark spoke out during last spring training, saying, "Unless I am mistaken, the league has said there's going to be a work stoppage. So I don't think I'm speaking out of school in that regard." Hmm. Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's fucking insane to me. That's really fucking insane. Um, this is insane, man. This is insane. Um, let's remove this. Okay. just no, yeah. Wait. He didn't mention the possible lockout in his 35-minute talk last week. We never go into negotiations trying to miss games, Clark said. I can't speak. Yeah, I read. Yeah. I can't speak for the other side, but in our history, we've missed games. We go in trying to move the industry forward, but we're going to be prepared for what the other side is telling us they are doing. The owners have talked about a salary cap and floor as exists in all the other organized pro sports to allegedly promote competitive balance. But the union is dead set against that. They will point out there are penalties in the current contract involving the luxury tax threshold, many of them not enforced. Lesser earning teams are supposed to invest their revenue sharing dollars with some exclusions into player payrolls. Some do and others use it to offset losses. Clark said this has been a hot topic of discussion with the players. Every team has the wherewithal to compete, he said. In quote, knowing there are some teams that can compete but have chosen not to. How does that affect the industry? He asked. The owners need to introduce some sort of creative concept, pro, proving the cap floor system is better for the financial health of all the players rather than a chosen few. They have to resolve their own differences on how to evenly share local television and streaming dollars before negotiations with the union even begin. Since it takes 75% since it takes a 75% vote of the 30 owners to approve anything, an even split of regional TV dollars seems unrealistic. The big market teams that have their own networks or large contracts are enough in number to block it. The New York Yankees, the New York Mets, Boston Red Sox, Los Angeles Dodgers, Chicago Cubs, Chicago White Sox, Baltimore Orioles, Washington Nationals, San Francisco Giants, and even the Oakland/Sacramento's and future Las Vegas A's had that list. If the owners go into the negotiations attempting again to jam a cat floor down the union's throat, there will certainly be a lockout and perhaps a long one that could this time extend into the 2027 season. That would cost both sides games for the first time since the last player strike at the end of 1994 season canceled 948 games, the playoffs and World Series. That's insane. Um At that point, the owners will lose revenue and the players will not be paid. They are paid from the first game of the regular season to the last and no time outside of that period. It will be a matter of which side blinks first. Historically, it's the owners. We don't go into the conversations looking to damage the game, Clark said, particularly in a world where the game is moving in a very good direction. We should be celebrating our guys and the game and what we're seeing. Our guys are doing that night in, night in and night out. MLB is making plenty of money. The league set a record this past season by generating team sponsorship revenue of $2.05 billion. The two-time defending World Series winning Dodgers drew more than 4 million at 50,000 seat Dodger Stadium for the first time and broke the $1 billion mark in local revenue. They are exhibit number one. How long does anyone think Mark Walter and Guggenheim Baseball are going to want to give any part of that? Include them in the Forbes list of top 10 valued MLB teams that all should be against in season lockout. Again, it takes only 25% of the owners to balk at anything. Will these teams vote in their best interest or the interest of the other owners, you ask? From the union's point of view, with investment of licensing dollars that have been retained over the past 5 years rather than dispersed to the players, the MLBPA is in the strongest financial position it's ever been for players to withstand a lockout that cancels games. Shit. That's fucked up, man. Um all right, the dollar amounts are higher than they've ever been, and the organization has been preparing to put the players into a position of flexibility to do whatever they want, Clark said. So the clock is ticking and the lockout is pending. The noise is suggesting that the sky is falling, Clark concluded. We'll see once we start formal bargaining, but our players are ready for whatever that's going to look like. All right, so if anything happens, any updates involving the potential scary lockout, I will circle back and talk about it here. All right, so the New York Mets also acquired some players in minor league deals. So let's get to this right here. Let's get to this right here. Let's see. First and foremost, Christian Posh. The Mets agreed with veteran outfielder Christian Posh on a minor league deal with a non-roster invitation to spring training, according to multiple reports on Monday. The team has not confirmed. Poch, age 27, is known primarily as a talented defender with a strong throwing arm, uh, capable of playing all three outfield spots. He was a former top prospect, ranking as high as number 12 according to MLB Pipeline before the 2021 season. Potch last played in the majors in 2024, spending last season at AAA Reno in the Diamondbacks organization, where he slashed 251, 351, 389 with 5 homers and 8 steals in 70 games. For his career, Potch has hit 181 with 7 homers, and 49 RBIs in 251 games. And let's see what else. I think I'll talk about the on the upgrades and stuff for next time. Actually, I want to go over. The what's the other shit? Yeah. Okay, let's go to some transactions that happened. Let's go to some transactions of what the Mets acquired, actually. So let's see. So recently, Cooper Criswell has been traded to the Seattle Mariners for cash. Um, And the Mets designated left-handed pitcher Richard Lovelady for assignment. And the Mets traded. Hold on, Minnesota Twins traded third baseman Vital Brujan to the New York Mets for cash. And of course, New York Mets signed free agent right-handed pitcher Luis Garcia. And yeah. And New York Mets designated shortstop Sung Chae Chang was designated for assignment. Milwaukee Brewers traded for Freddie Peralta and right-handed pitcher Tobias Myers to the New York Mets for right-handed pitcher Brandon Sproat and shortstop Jet Williams. Damn, that hurts. Damn, that fucking hurts. Yeah, so Chicago White Sox traded Luis Robert Jr. to the New York Mets for second baseman Luis Angel Acuna and right-handed pitcher Truman Pauly. I'm gonna do a separate episode discussing how some Mets fans basically are basically worried about Luis Robert Jr.'s injury history as far as being injury prone. All right, so I'll do that in a separate episode, as well as the recent signing of Bo Bichette playing third base. I'm gonna do that separately in separate episodes. So stay tuned for that. All right, so New York Mets signed free agent outfielder Jeremy Reyes to a minor league contract, followed by Junior Canario to a minor league contract, followed by Sebastian Toro, Royner Bravo, Dayron Aramis, Sebastian Gomez, Yadier Fuentes, John Darius Sanchez, Oscar Pena, Kleiner Ramirez, Emerson Estevez, Adrian La Rosa, Mikael Mercedes, Gensil Rosario, Eduardo Pena, Mauricio Nunez, Trey McGo, Oscar Montero, Edgardo Rodriguez, Frank Moreno, Elvis Turan, Ryan Rudas, Henry Manrique, Wandy Asajan, Christopher Jaquez, Christian Dudamel, Franklin Gomez, Joe Angel Marquez. Let's see. Chicago White Sox claim catcher Drew Romo off waivers from New York Mets. And G. Juan Bay is with the Syracuse Mets. Christian Arroyo is with the New York Mets. And of course, I already talked about Mike Beaumont already. All right. So let's see. All right, now that I got that out the way, I want to get to the rundown on the catchers and pitchers meeting that's happening. So, all right, so we have the Cactus League. So let's talk about this for a sec. So here's what the schedule is looking like for pitchers and catchers' first workout. And this is a full squad first workout. So Arizona, Tuesday, Tuesday, February 10th, and Sunday, February 15th. Athletics, Wednesday, February 11th, and Monday, February 16th. Chicago Cubs, Wednesday, February 11th, and Monday, February 16th. Chicago White Sox, Tuesdays, February 10th, Sundays, February 15th. Cincinnati Reds, Wednesday, February 11th, Monday, February 15th, February 16th, excuse me. Cleveland Guardians, Thursday, February 12th, and Tuesday, February 17th. Colorado Rockies, Thursday, February 12th, Tuesday, February 17th. Kansas City Royals, Wednesday, February 11th, Monday, February 16th. Friday, Los Angeles Dodgers, Friday, February 13th, Tuesday, February 17th. Los Angeles Angels, Wednesday, February 11th, Monday, February 16th. Let's see. Wait, did I say Friday, February 13th? Yeah, for the Los Angeles Dodgers, Friday, February 13th. Tuesday, February 17th. Milwaukee Brewers, Thursday, February 12th. Tuesday, February 17th. San Diego Padres, Wednesday, February 11th. Sunday, February 15th. San Francisco Giants, Tuesday, February 10th. Sunday, February 15th. Seattle Mariners, Thursday, February 12th. Tuesday, February 17th. Texas Rangers, Tuesday, February 10th. Sunday, February 13th. Now, the Grapefruit League. Pitchers and catchers, first workout, full squad, first workout. Okay. So, you got Atlanta Braves, Tuesday, February 10th, Sunday, February 15th. Baltimore Orioles, Wednesday, February 11th. Monday, February 16th. Yeah, Monday, February 16th. Boston Red Sox, Tuesday, February 10th. Sunday, February 15th. Detroit Tigers, Wednesday, February 11th. Sunday, February 15th. Houston Astros, Wednesday, February 11th. Monday, February 16th. Miami Marlins, Wednesday, February 11th. And Monday, February 16th. Minnesota Twins, Thursday, February 12th, Monday, February 16th. The New York Mets meet on Wednesday, February 11th, and Monday, February 16th. New York Yankees, Thursday, February 12th, Monday, February 16th. The Philadelphia Phillies, Wednesday, February 11th, and Monday, February 16th. Pittsburgh Pirates meet on Wednesday, February 11th, Monday, February 16th. St. Louis Cardinals meet on Thursday, February 12th, Monday, February 16th. Tampa Bay Rays meet on Thursday, February 12th, and Tuesday, February 17th. Toronto Blue Jays meet on Wednesday, February 11th, and Monday, February 16th, followed by Washington Nationals Wednesday, February 11th, and Monday, February 16th. Now I'm going to go on to the rundown of the New York Knicks schedule. Before I even go on to the next one, so let's see. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, let's see what we got here for the Knicks schedule. So I could just break this down actually. So what's today? Today's the 20th. Oh, okay. Okay, so starting with January 27th, Sacramento Kings versus the New York Knicks. Tuesday, January 27th at 7:30 Eastern Time on MSG. New York New York Knicks versus Toronto Raptors Wednesday, January 28th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on MSG. Portland Trailblazers versus New York Knicks Friday, January 30th at 7:30 on MSG. Los Angeles Lakers versus New York Knicks Sunday, February 1st, 7 p.m. on NBC. New York Knicks versus Washington Wizards Tuesday, February 3rd. February 3rd. February 3rd. Hold on, let me look up the time. Let me look up the time for this, actually. Let's look up the time for February 3rd. The time, let's see. Let's look up the time, actually. February 3rd. Where is February 3rd? Okay. Yes, February 3rd is at 7 p.m. Eastern on MSG. Let me add that to my notes. Let me add that to my notes. Let me add that to my notes. Let me add that to my notes right here. So this is what? Yes. Okay. All right. So, Denver Nuggets versus New York Knicks Wednesday, February 4th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN and Gotham Sports. New York Knicks versus Detroit Pistons Friday, February 6th. Eastern Time. Let me see what time that is. That's 7:30 p.m. Okay. 7:30 p.m. 7:30 p.m. 7:30 p.m. Okay, got it. That's going to be on Amazon Prime Video. New York Knicks Sunday. New York Knicks versus Boston Celtics Sunday, February 8th. On February 8th is 12:30. 12:30 p.m. 12:30 p.m. on ABC. All right, so let me see what I left out. Let me see. So there you go. Indiana Pacers versus New York Knicks Tuesday, February 10th. That is, let me see, 7:30 p.m. 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on MSG. All right. And I think it's on Gotham Sports as well. So there you go. Right there. And let me see. Gotham Sports. Okay. So New York Knicks versus Philadelphia 76ers. Wednesday, February 11th at 7:30 Eastern Time on ESPN. Now, there is no February 11th. Yeah, so there you go. Detroit Pistons versus New York Knicks Thursday, February 19th at 7:30 p.m. on Amazon Prime Video. Amazon Prime Video. There you go. And Saturday, February 21st, Houston Rockets versus New York Knicks. at 8:30 p.m. on ABC. All right, I'm gonna leave it right. I'm gonna leave it right there, man, and try to wrap up this podcast right here. If there's any topics that I didn't get a chance to cover, I will cover it in any of the following episodes. All right. So there you go. That was the breakdown of the catchers and pitchers meetings, of the dates of different teams, and of course the rundown schedule of the New York Knicks. For all you Knicks fans out there, I got you covered. All right. All right. Let me see. All right. So we are going to be wrapping up right here. Hang on a second here. Okay. Here we go. All right, we're going to wrap up right here with this last segment, which is stream choices on the go. Let's do this. All right, you know what to do, folks. Make sure you follow Excellent, Fun, Vibrant Talks podcast, my sports edition show platform right here on Facebook, alongside with Bluesky Social, Threads, and of course Instagram, followed by my other podcast shows that I do on a weekly basis, which is the entertainment review show Meticulous Vibe Juice podcast. I just dropped an episode 153 yesterday, Saturday, and I dropped 152 on Friday. So make sure you check those out. And of course, make sure you follow those two podcast shows on the same social media platforms. And you can follow your host with the most, G Money Stacks 555 in Queens, New York, on Threads and Instagram. All right. I'm gonna go over where you can actually listen to the podcast on every audio streaming platform podcast feed link. So if you go to the link in bio, you're gonna see Linktree / Excellent Fun Vibrant Talks pod. Click on there. You're gonna see a whole list of audio streaming platforms, including visuals, starting with Audible, Odyssey, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts. Make sure you leave a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and a review of your response of how you feel about the sports topics in each episode. Castbox FM, these are the Listen Notes, Moon FM Podcast, Overhaul FM Podcast, Player FM, Pandora, Pocket Cast, Podo Polo, Podorama Podcast, Index Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Podverse, Podcast Guru, Podcatcher, Podcast Republic, Snipped. You can add the podcast to your Spotify playlist, and make sure you click on that notification bell so you'll be notified on when each new episode will be dropping. All right. And also you can listen on Spotify for creators. You can also comment on there as well. And you can also listen to the episodes on TuneIn Radio alongside with Fountain, Good Pods, iHeartRadio, the number one app where you can listen to your favorite music artists, such as favorite rappers, R&B singers, pop stars in different music genres. Even hip hop artists are included, alongside with your favorite your favorite AM and FM radio stations that you listen to. And you can also listen to the podcast episodes for free. You don't need a credit card or debit card to download iHeartRadio. All you need to do is follow the Sports Edition show, Excellent Fun Vibrant Talks podcast on iHeartRadio and other streaming platforms. And you can also download iHeartRadio onto your phones, such as your iPhones, your Android phones, your iPads, Android tablets, laptops are included, such as Apple, Mac laptop models, and alongside with Dell laptop models, with Windows 10 and Windows 11 are included. All right. And also make sure you click on the sports YouTube channel page of Excellent Fun Vibrant Talks podcast and leave a like and a comment alongside with the sports topics that are being discussed in each episode. Share the Linktree link with the sports podcast with your husbands, your wives, your boyfriends, girlfriends, people you're cool with from work. And of course, you can also make sure you download the episodes. You can download the episodes as well as spreading the word. Word of mouth is important. And enable alerts to be notified on when each video podcast episode will be uploaded to the YouTube channel page. And of course, when I'll be on the air via live stream for new episodes. And also make sure you subscribe to my other YouTube channel pages of Meticulous Vibe Juice podcast, my entertainment YouTube channel page where I record my podcast episodes. The same goes for my primary YouTube channel page G Money Stacks 555 for Off the Meat Rat Chains New York Avenue podcast. All right. And yeah, man, I think that's gonna do it. That's gonna do it for me, man. I'm your man, G Money Stacks, aka the Gregonator. Rhymes with now or later. And I'd like to say thank you to every single one of you for taking the time to listen to the episodes. I know some of you out there are snowed in right now, and I figured I'd come on the air to actually give y'all some motivation. That way you can actually listen to the episodes, so that way you'll be able to keep up what's going on in sports news, as far as like what's going on in football news, like the New York Giants. As I discussed about John Harbaugh being hired as the head coach, and of course a combination of some baseball news, including the New York Mets and their recent transactions, and of course some signings and stuff. So whatever I don't get to, I will get to some of them in the following episodes. All right. I had to talk about the lockout that's going on, because I previously discussed the pros and cons of a salary cap and a salary floor. So if anything, if there's any new information, any new updates, I will try to cover it. As well as the New York Knicks, as well as anything else in New York Mets land, I will gladly cover it. And yeah, remember, the grind doesn't stop. Hard work pays off. If you want something, you have to work hard and earn it. It's not going to be given to you on a fucking silver platter. All right. Now, if you plan to start a podcast, please make sure you be yourself behind the microphone as you are recording your podcast episodes. And of course, it doesn't matter what the length of the episode is. Some people do short episodes, some people do long episodes. Whichever works for you, it doesn't matter. So do not overthink and second guess yourself. All right. So and also you don't have to worry about the numbers of the views or the subscribers and stuff. Even though it is a grind, and it is a grind, and it is a marathon, not a sprint. All right. And of course, be on your P's and Q's creatively, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, that get you into your zone alongside with tunnel vision. All right. And listen, man, even though there's school closures due to the snowstorm and everything else in between, and like I said earlier in the beginning of the episode 114 recording, make sure you check your train schedules. If you are taking Metro North to different destinations, the LARR, make sure you check your train schedules and your tickets and stuff. And of course, be sure you stay safe out there. I did see that the NCAA basically talked about how some of the subway trains are going to be running locally, the ACE trains, and alongside with other subway trains that's going to be running local because of the snowstorm. They don't want any catastrophe as far as like the snowstorm being watered with snow. All right. And yeah, man, and listen, man, I want y'all to stay safe out there. Be warm in your cribs. If you don't have work, if you don't have work to go to, then you can actually chill at the crib. If you do, make sure you lay up with some clothes, your hoodies, your gloves, your jogging sweatpants, long johns, some sweaters, thermal sweaters, winter hats, gloves, and mittens. All right, that's very important. I don't want any of you out there to struggle and suffer with hypothermia and frostbites. Okay, and I do feel for the nurses that's actually protesting. I actually feel bad for them because they're out there in the cold protesting for better wages and everything else in between. So yeah, I really hope that they get the things that they deserve. And if they're out there, please make sure you stay warm. Stay warm out there. Make sure you stay layered up because hypothermia is no joke. All right. And listen, man, I will see y'all next time. Stay tuned for more new sports topics in the next episode. And whatever topics I don't get to, I will try to cover them in the following episodes. All right. I got y'all. All right. So it's a long off season for the New York Mets. Of course, spring training is around the corner. I want to actually mention this before I get up out of here. Is that spring training starts February 21st. All right, mark your calendars. All right. I will actually be back. Oh yeah, let me cover the spring training schedule real quick. Let me cover that real quick. Let me cover that real quick. Let me cover that real quick. Okay. Hold on. 2026. All right. MLB announces spring training schedule for the New York Mets. Let's see. New York Mets. Let's see. Let me see. All right. Let me see. So there's a full schedule. All right. So let's get to this. All right. So Major League Baseball on Wednesday announced the start times for its entire 2026 calendar of games, including the regular season, spring training, and third annual spring breakout. The 2026 spring training slate will officially begin on Friday, February 20th in Arizona and Florida before a full schedule of Cactus and Grapefruit League games are played on Saturday, February 21st. Friday's slate features 4 Cactus League contests. Let's see. Arizona, Colorado, San Diego, Seattle, Kansas City, Texas, Chicago White Sox, Chicago Cubs, 1 Grapefruit League game, New York Yankees at Baltimore Orioles, and 2 exhibition matchups. Northeastern University at Boston University of Minnesota at Boston University of Minnesota. Okay. All right, the third annual spring breakout will be played from Thursday, March 19th through Sunday, March 22nd, showcasing baseball's future stars as clubs assemble their top prospects to play in exhibition games against one another. Spring breakout will begin with 6 contests on March 19th, headlined by a matchup of top 10 farm systems, according to MLB Pipeline, as the 7th ranked Mets prospects host the 10th ranked Rays prospects in Port St. Lucie, Florida at 7:10 p.m. Eastern. The spring training schedule also includes a total of 30 expedition games on Tuesday, March 3rd and Wednesday, March 4th, featuring major league clubs competing against World Baseball Classic national teams prior to the scheduled North American start to 2026 World Baseball Classic on Friday, March 6th in San Juan, Puerto Rico, Houston, Texas, and Miami, Florida. Among the exhibition games are a pair of contests between the Detroit Tigers and the Dominican Republic national team at Santo Domingo's Estadio Quisqueya. That's Quisqueya Juan Marico at 6:05 p.m. Eastern, 7:05 p.m. On Tuesday and 2:05 p.m., 3:05 p.m. on Wednesday. The event will mark the first time ever that the DR national team will host a major league club for expedition games in the country. Additionally, the games will be played in memory of the victims of the April 8th, 2025 tragedy at the Jet Set nightclub in Santo Domingo, with MLB and UEPA donating to Cruz Roja Dominicana as part of the event. Dominican Red Cross is included. So yeah. So let's see. Let me see. What's going on with the Mets? Let me see this. The Mets. Let's see. Oh. Oh, okay. Let's see. So I don't see anything. Oh, wait. So we're seeing Lucy. Yeah. Okay, so the San Francisco Giants will host the New York Yankees on opening night on Wednesday, March 25th at 8:05 p.m. 5:05 p.m. Pacific time, exclusively on Netflix. Um, Traditional opening day on Thursday, March 26th will feature 11 contests, highlighted by a pair of games on NBC and Peacock, as the Pittsburgh Pirates visit the New York Mets at 1:15 p.m. Eastern, and the world champion Los Angeles Dodgers host the Arizona Diamondbacks at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. MLB Network will have extensive coverage of opening day on Thursday, March 26th, including um, the returns of MLB Central and the Emmy Award-winning MLB Tonight, featuring live look-ins at games in progress, highlights, and analysis. MLB's Mexico City series will return in 2026, featuring two games between the D-backs and San Diego Padres on Saturday, April 25th at 4:05 p.m., 3:05 p.m., and Sunday, April 26th at 2:05 p.m. and 1:05 p.m. Pacific time. The contest at Estadio Alfredo Harp Helu Beast Ball, which will be the latest installment of MLB's World Tour, will mark the third regular season visit by MLB to Mexico City's capital. All right, let me see. Damn, where is it? Rivalry weekend presented by Booking.com across the majors will return during the weekend of May 15th to the 17th, featuring 11 series between prime interleague rivals and 4 other regional matchups in 2026. Each of the 30 clubs will host the same interleague opponents as they hosted in 2024. Rivalry weekend games will start with matchups between the Keystone State's Pirates and Philadelphia Phillies in Pittsburgh, and the American League champion Toronto Blue Jays visiting the Tigers, with both contests beginning at 6:40 p.m. Eastern. The 96 All-Star Game presented by MasterCard will take place on Tuesday, July 14th at Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia on Fox 5. Check your local listings for the celebration of the semi-quincentennial of American independence. The Midsummer Classic in Philadelphia follows suit from 1976, when Veterans Stadium hosted the All-Star Game in the year of the nation's bicentennial. The 2026 All-Star Game will mark the first at Citizens Bank Park, the 5th overall to be hosted by the city of Philadelphia, and the 4th to be hosted by the Phillies. All-Star Week will also include coverage of the MLB Draft on NBC and Peacock and MLB Network on Saturday, Saturday, July 11th, the All-Star Futures game on NBC and Peacock at noon Eastern on Sunday, July 12th, and the T-Mobile Home Run Derby on Netflix on Monday, July 13th. Let's see. In August, MLB will stage 2 of the signature games of the 2026 regular season, featuring a return to Dyersville, Iowa for the third edition of MLB at Field of Dreams, and the continuation of an annual tradition in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, for the MLB Little League Classic presented by New York Life. The Field of Dreams contest, which follows the 2021 and 2022 renditions of the event, will feature the Minnesota Twins and the Phillies on Thursday, August 13th at 7:30 p.m., 6:30 p.m. Central Time on Netflix. The Milwaukee Brewers and the Atlanta Braves will participate in the Little League Classic on Sunday, August 23rd at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:10 p.m. Central Time on ESPN. The final day of the 2026 regular season will be Sunday, September 27th, featuring non-divisional matchups and with all 15 contests starting between 3 to 3:20 p.m. Eastern Time. Jeez, man. Jeez, let me see. That's a lot. That's a lot, man. That is a lot. Okay. Doesn't really say. Let me just see. Spring training schedule. Spring training schedule. Oh yeah. Yeah, New York Mets spring training schedule. Let's see. Let me see. Yes. Yes, New York Mets spring training schedule. Let's take a look here. Right. All right. So the schedule for spring training goes like this. All right. So the Mets versus the Marlins, February 21st, February 22nd versus the Yankees, February 23rd. Versus the Blue Jays, February 24th. February 24th versus the Astros, February 25th versus the Cardinals, February 26th at the Astros, February 27th at Cardinals. February 28th versus the Nationals, March 1st versus the Astros, March 3rd versus Nicaragua, WBC team. March 4th versus Israel, WBC team. March 5th versus the Nationals. March 6th versus the Marlins. March 7th versus the Cardinals. March 8th versus the Yankees. March 9th versus the Marlins. March 10th versus the Cardinals. March 12th versus the Cardinals. March 13th versus the Marlins. March 13th versus the Nationals, March 14th versus the Astros, and March 15th versus the Blue Jays, followed by the Nationals, March 16th, March 17th, Marlins versus the Marlins, March 19th versus the Astros, March 20th versus the Cardinals, March 21st versus the Astros, March 21st versus the Nationals, March 22nd, versus the Marlins. Now, I don't see any TV broadcast schedules being listed for those spring training games. If I see any updates in regards to, hang on a sec. Now, I don't see any TV broadcast schedules that's happening. So, if what I would have to do is basically circle back, do a little research on which channels of each spring training games is going to be featured on, whether it's going to be on SNY, whether it's going to be on the CW Pix 11, what is going to be on possibly I don't know if ESPN is going to have that, but as far as like some of the Mets games are going to be on NBC and featured on Peacock, I know that. So yeah, there you go right there, man. I wanted to actually cover that before I got up out of here, man. And like I said, man, make sure you subscribe to the channel, the sports YouTube channel page, enable alerts. Make sure you leave a like and a comment along with the sports topics in each episode, and alongside with sharing the podcast with your husbands, your wives, your boyfriends, girlfriends, people you're cool with from work, and of course, new episodes are going to be dropped on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. All right, and also before I forget though, make sure you subscribe to the other YouTube channels that I do, which is my other podcast shows, which is my entertainment review show, Meticulous Vibe Juice Podcast. All right. And of course, like I said, don't forget to subscribe to the sports YouTube channel page. Excellent, fun, vibrant talks podcast. And of course, G Money Stacks 555 for Off the Meat Rack Chains New York Avenue podcast comedy platform. All right. So, like I said, man, I'm out of here. And you can listen to the episodes on every streaming platform that I just discussed and listed. Next time I will be back. I will be back with more new sports topics. Stay tuned for more new sports topics in the next episode. I appreciate every single one of y'all. I'm gonna be out of here signing off. Don't forget to stay warm in your cribs. Don't forget to check your train schedules of the LARR, Metro North. Don't forget if you're taking the subways, some of the trains are going to be running local because of the snowstorm. All right. And of course, there's going to be some chains on the back wheels of each 40-footer bus. They took out the 60-footer bus because of the snowstorm, so I'm glad they took that out. And also for New Jersey, like I said previously, the transportation of the trains and the buses are put on hold because of this nasty snowstorm. All right. And if you are looking for some places to keep yourself warm, like shelters and stuff like that, even though your homes has been burnt down, whether it's an apartment or a house or whatever, please call 311. Very important, so that they can help you look for shelters where you can keep yourself warm. All right. Peace and one love. I appreciate every single one of y'all. I appreciate y'all time whatsoever. I'll be back next time. Stay tuned for more new episodes, new topics, new sports topics in the next episode. Peace and one love. Stay warm, stay safe with some hot tea with lemon and some hot chocolate milk. Peace. Let's go, Mets. Good night, everybody.